Welcome back. It's 10 years since we shared the original videos with you about McKinley Railway, and we're in the middle of the most amazing expansion plans on the layout. You might think, what more? But there's a mission here, and we're going to share that with you over the next 12 to 18 months. One of the things that I didn't get a chance to explain in the original series was what were the origins behind me wanting to have that layout. And if I go back to my childhood, probably like many of you, I had a model railway set in my bedroom, and I had 2 or 3 controllers that I could run trains around an oval of track. I think I even built a little elevator section. But I always harboured that dream for the track plan that was on the cover of the Triang Hornby Track Plans book. In my mind's eye it was track plan 18, but when we look back at the books now, we find it's track plan 14. But anyway, there were 4 mainline tracks, 2 through stations, 2 engine sheds. There were more engines and more coaching stock than my pocket money and my newspaper round were ever going to be able to afford. But that dream was set. And then family circumstances changed when I was about 12, and the railway got packed up and I got put into a much smaller room, and the railway got put aside, but it got chopped off rather than just got dismissed in my life. So girls and all the other things did come into my life, but I still had that hankering to have that large Hornby track plan in my world. The other thing that I always loved about, I was a sort of avid train spotter. And I used to go to Bristol Temple Meads, which is the nearest large station to Bath. And I'd stand on the end of that platform by Bristol Bath Road engine shed, and stuff would be coming by. Light engines would suddenly arrive that I wouldn't anticipate. Express trains would come through, yet another DMU, yet another DMU. It was a bit painful. But I'd see freight trains disappearing on the avoiding lines in the distance. I could have seen the engine, I couldn't get the number. I nicked my dad's binoculars so that I could be more prepared. But I loved that randomness, and I had no idea that they all followed an order. There was a working timetable that trains ran to. And that's what I wanted to recreate upstairs with McKinley, initially with computer control, but we'll cover that in a minute. So come on upstairs and let's have a look. So when I got this house in 2000, there were 2 big problems I faced. I had a large room for a model railway, but I had no idea how to control it, how to run it. I started experimenting with all these DC, analog power systems, cab forwarding and all this stuff, and it was proving to be a right nightmare. And one day I met a chap called Steve Skinner at a show in Warminster. And the next weekend he came down with this small DCC box from Digitrax. He just snipped through all these flipping wires we'd spent months putting in place with all these relays. The system sounded like a blooming telephone exchange. It was ridiculous. And he just set trains off running around this small oval of track we'd built up in that room to try and test things out. And I realised then that my power problems had gone completely. This DCC thing, which I hadn't known about, was transformative because I could run a train anywhere on any scale of layout from any location, which was the dream. So in that same year, I started to do a bit of research to just check out, well, what DCC system do I want to run? Which manufacturer's got all the different systems? And that's 15, 16 years ago now. But the bit that hooked me, bearing in mind that my background was in computing and networking, was this bus architecture that Digitrax had called Loconet. And that was the key, because suddenly I could see I could send commands from a computer application, the likes of which I didn't know existed or not. But I spoke to the proprietors of Digitrax and said, this is my dream, I want to run 8 to 10 trains. And they said, easily. And I said, but it's on this scale, we can do it. And so I set off, that's where we went, doing Digitrax, Loconet and building McKinley Railway. That video in 2006 was quite transformative for me because it exposed me and my railway to an awful lot of people, and they would come and have a look. And they pointed out to me that the computer wasn't particularly good at doing things, and it wasn't utilising the stations, the big stations like London and Manchester. So we set about this whole process of trying to change the railway into being an operator-driven layout, with the computer doing the things that it's good at, which is running trains around the main lines. And so over the next 3 to 5 years, up to about 2012, we still operate trains, but in that period we developed a whole set of series of processes and timetables and interactions so that the computer does what it does well, which is driving trains reliably around the main lines and not crashing into other things, and letting the operators having tremendous fun sorting trains out at terminuses, turning engines, getting stock sorted, etc, etc. One thing I'll just give you a quick idea about, all these posters we've got here you've seen come out the wall, they show British Railways in the transformation in the 50s, 60s and 70s. And that gives you a hint about what we're doing with McKinley in phase 2. So come and have a look. So here we are on the second floor with McKinley Railway. Just to give you a reference point, this is the staging yard, the storage yard that we showed you in the original series. Over here is our trusty train controller application, which has moved out of the operating room, out to here. And that gives you a hint of what we've done in terms of operations. The railway is run by humans in there, and the computer drives the trains out here. So, one of the things that happens in life is your family grows up and leaves home. So my kids left, and I suddenly realised a few years ago that I had all this empty space up on the second floor, right next to McKinley Railway. So Steve Davis and I dreamt up a plan of how we could extend the railway. I knocked Lewis's bedroom, his bathroom and our workshop into one large 6 metre by 8 metre room. And here you can see the extension that we're building to our layout. Track everywhere. So over the next 24 months, we're going to be publishing a video every couple of weeks showing you the progress we're making with the extension here to McKinley Railway. And believe me, what you see here is just the tip of the iceberg. So see you soon. Thanks.